Welcome to Families in Action on your local hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Cary Quashen, along with my co-host, the Silver Fox, Michael Doherty.
Hey, how you doing, Cary?
I'm great, Michael.
Now, you know what's interesting is you and I rarely see each other on the weekends.
I know.
But this weekend we did.
We did.
We had a great time.
It was really pretty fun, wasn't it?
It was. It was a lot of fun at the KHTS Christmas party. A big thanks to Carl and Jerry. What fun.
Everybody here.
We had a blast.
We really did. I apologize. I somehow thought it started at 6:30, and that's when I got there, and it was started at 5. It's like, oops. Right. But I got to play miniature golf. And
yeah, I was looking around for you because I rode the go-karts, and I was looking for you. I thought that'd be like a big slot car, right?
Yeah. So Mike and his wife played, and Delise played, and I got last
miniature
place.
Golf.
And
miniature
golf.
Golf.
You got, yes, what did I say?
Yeah, you just said we played.
Oh, yeah, miniature golf. You got second.
I
Delise
did.
Got first.
Yeah. Mary came in third, and you came in 5th out of 4.
I know. We won't talk about that. I think it was rigged. I think who kept score?
I did.
There we go. So no, that's funny. I was just here doing the nonprofit spotlight about an hour ago, and
great.
You know what, Mike? Before we do any of the introductions, so that means I was an hour there and an hour here. That means 8, 9. 10 people loses their life to substance abuse, accidental overdose in the 2 shows that I've done in this country. 10 people. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty important. I was telling Dan, we'll introduce our guests in a minute, Dan Broyles, that from Grace Baptist, that I've done a lot of TV stuff lately because we have to get the message out. I mean, people are dying really fast right now.
And I have some new numbers that I'll be sharing with us in a little bit here.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? First, let me do this. Action, Families in Action is brought to you by your local hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, and we very much appreciate. We've been on the air for over 13 years, a very long time, and also the Action Foundation. I'll let you talk a little bit about that, since I just spent an hour talking about it 2 shows ago.
The Action Family Foundation does so much for. There's so many avenues that you have out there, Cary, and I'll just touch on a couple of them. One is the Free Parent Support Group, and that's every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Canyon High School. What a great thing
I'll be
for
there.
parents.
Come and see me.
So if you don't know how to handle your child, this is the place to be. Absolutely.
There's a parent group for parents to help get back in control of situations and get solutions and stuff like that. And then there's a teen group. And there's a lot of people there. I mean, we have probably 25 to 40 parents and more kids. And I always hear from parents, what if somebody recognizes me? Well, if they recognize you, they're there for the same reason. So I wouldn't worry about it.
And the next thing I wanted to mention is the Action Academy. This is a free public sober school for local junior and senior high school students. Cary, this is so cool, and it expanded this year because it was doing so well.
It did. We're up to 10 kids, and now we're expanding it to 16. So it's pretty cool stuff, and it's a sober school, and it's over at Action Corporate Office on Soledad, and it's in partnership with the Hart School District. So there's a lot of sober schools. Well, not a lot, but there are some sober schools. But this one's unique in a lot of ways. Number one, it's a partnership between a drug treatment program and a school district, which is very, very cool, and it's middle and high school. Mm-hmm. And our goal isn't to bring kids in and keep them until they graduate. Our goal is to bring kids in, get them strong enough to go back to mainstream school and graduate with their class.
So this isn't long term. They come in for
can be. I mean, there are kids that might have to stay there because they just need that support. But we don't want to keep kids in a bubble. We want to. I mean, we know that they're going to be out there and they're going to be faced with drugs and issues, and they're going to have to be able to get the strength to say no. So we really want to get them strong enough to do that and send them back to their schools to graduate with their class.
How about that I introduce our guest today?
I think that's a great idea.
You know, Grace Baptist Church is a great place, and
they do so much in this valley.
And a lot of people there are actually heroes of the Santa Clarita Valley. They do so much.
Don't we have a couple of those with us
They are
today?
sitting right here with us. Dan Broyles, who's been with us many times. Dan, welcome back. Dan is a care pastor at Grace Baptist, one of the main men.
Thanks just for having me. Glad to be here.
Always
we love when you. Whenever
Great
Stephanie sends me and I see your name, I smile because I just like being around you. You're a good guy.
And someone else from Grace Baptist is with us. This is Colleen Sando. Welcome to Families in Action, Colleen.
Thank you.
And Colleen actually leads the grief group at Grace Baptist, which is what we're going to be talking about with you today. I love the title. I don't love the topic, but the title, Grief Never Takes a Holiday. How
That's
true
so
that
true.
is.
I did a lot of trainings in my career, but the grief recovery, I did a 3-day intense training, and that was pretty intense. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Well, Dan and Colleen, Dan, as you know, Colleen, as I'm going to inform you now, but one of the reasons we wanted to introduce you right off the top is I'm going to do some action file items, and we're just going to hopefully, if you feel like it, if you've got something to add to whatever
Jump
we
in.
bring
Sure.
in, feel free to jump in. Here's the first one. Now we keep talking about numbers all the time here on the show.
Because
They're
they change.
normally, yeah, they're normally the 2014 numbers, but now we have some from 2015.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Why do I not want to hear this?
More than 50,000 Americans died from drug overdoses last year, the most ever.
That's more than car crashes and gun violence.
This disastrous tally has been pushed to new heights by soaring abuse of heroin and prescription painkillers, a class of drugs known as opioids. Heroin deaths rose 23% in 1 year to 12,989, slightly higher than the number of gun homicides. Deaths from synthetic opioids, including
But that's just heroin.
right.
So just from heroin more than gun violence. Now, when there's gun violence and it hits the media, everybody's screaming about getting guns off, getting guns away from people, getting stricter laws, blah, 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 which I don't disagree with. But more people are dying just from heroin. That's not even prescription pills yet.
Wow.
Continuing on, deaths from synthetic opioids, including illicit fentanyl, rose 73% to 9,580, and prescription painkillers took the highest toll. Abuse of drugs like Oxycontin
Wait, I want to
and
stop you.
Vicodin. Yes,
The highest toll.
Right.
More than heroin.
right.
That's what I want people to hear.
Well, just one thing is when a person is in grief and they're in so much pain, they'll go to their doctor.
Right.
And right off the bat, the doctor will give them some kind of a drug to help ease that pain.
The most written prescription in America is benzos, and those are anti-anxiety pills.
Yes.
Those are the most written prescriptions.
And here are some of those numbers. Abuse of drugs like Oxycontin and Vicodin killed 17,536, an increase of 4%. And here's what Robert Anderson said, and I'll let you know who he is in a moment. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, certainly not in modern times. And he oversees death statistics at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Wow.
Why is this surprising people? I've been screaming for 10 years. This is coming. It's going to be worse than the 70s. Haven't I?
You have.
And now it's here. I mean, no, I don't want to get into that. It sickens me.
Overall, overdose deaths rose 11% last year to 52,404. By comparison, the number of people who died in car crashes was 37,753. So it was way over that.
We're 20,000 people over.
It was 11% last year, 52,404 people. So
So Dan, let me ask you something. If I'm just because I'm so tired of hearing myself talk. If this was gun violence or anything else, people would be it'd be insane, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I think sometimes people are almost, over the years, have become numb to hearing numbers, and we have a problem with drugs in our country, and it's almost like we're desensitized to it. Unfortunately,
I got a phone call. I'm waiting to hear back from them from a magazine in England and Ireland and all those places wanting to interview me on the drug problem in America. Other countries are looking at us going, whoa. That's frightening. That's like, wow.
And I would say what happens is a lot of times we don't want to do anything about it until it affects someone we know personally. But until we know somebody, it's kind of like, well, that's another problem out there.
You're right. But here's
Unfortunately.
here's something that Mike helped me with this one. One in how many Americans are going to have a drug issue? One in every 7.
7, right.
That was the
number I was
statistic.
thinking.
So if I don't know anyone right now that doesn't know somebody affected by drugs or alcohol.
Right.
1 in every 7 Americans are going to come up with some kind of drug problem.
Now, I'm going to read this again because
That's why people are screaming now, because now everybody's realizing. Yeah.
This leads us into and read that again because this leads us into something that's very interesting. I saw this in the news on Friday. Overall, Overdose deaths rose 11% last year to 52,404. By comparison, the number of people who died in car crashes was only 37,757, an increase of 12%. Gun deaths, including homicides and suicides, totaled 36,252, and they were up 7%. But listen to this. As part of its annual report, the CDC also found that rates for 8 of the 10 leading causes of death rose last year, causing the nation's life expectancy to go down for the first time in more than 20 years. Drug overdoses were a significant factor. It's so much now that the average life expectancy has been affected.
Our board op Justin even jumped on that one, huh, Justin? What are you thinking about that? You're on the show every week with us. You've been hearing me scream about this, right?
I just think that last thing is incredible, that our life expectancy is now going down. It's
Because of the drug problem.
It's horrible.
And substance abuse has a huge impact in that.
Wow.
You're going to be a busy lady. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Moving on. New bill proposed to combat drugged driving.
Drugged
driving. That's what the headline says. Assemblyman Tom Lackey of Palmdale has proposed a bill that would authorize the use of roadside drug testing devices for drivers suspected of being under the influence. Lackey, who represents portions of the Santa Clarita Valley as the 36th District Representative, is a former 28-year veteran of the California Highway Patrol. California can no longer wait to take meaningful action against drug driving now that voters have passed Proposition 64, which legalizes recreational marijuana. Using new technology to identify and get stoned drivers off the road is something we need to embrace. After the passing of Proposition 64, which legalized marijuana for recreational use, the process of identifying a driver as being under the influence of drugs has taken on even more importance.
It's going to be a challenge. But go ahead. You wanted to say something? You can.
Well, when you said that, I'll be a busy lady. There's been so many that have come in with their sons or their daughters that have overdosed or their life is gone because of drugs. And it's going to get worse.
It's really horrible. Nobody should ever have to bury their sons or daughters. Yeah. And right now, there's so many people that are burying their sons and kids, their daughters, and it's just it saddens me, but it's a reality of where we are right now, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. I mean, people want to blaming the docs. Well, you can't blame the docs. You can't see pain. Somebody's going to a doctor. We have things in place right now. There's cures, programs. A doctor can look on a computer and see if they're doctor shopping. So we have that. But it's a lot of education that we need to do. We need to start when kids are young. And to tell you the truth, I mean, I'm going to give some of the blame to insurance companies. They're not allowing treatment right now. I own drug rehabs, and to get a month is an act of God, and these people need more than a month. So it's really tough. Very right sad. Now. Yeah, and they'd rather be sued because somebody died than spend money to help people. In the long run, it's going to cost more money because people that use drugs get medical problems and end up in hospitals later on in life. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to step in there, and maybe our new president, who knows? We'll have to wait and see what goes on.
I have one more action file item, and the title of this is A Drug Dealer Goes Down.
I like that.
A drug dealer who prosecutors said showed total disregard for human life was sentenced last Friday to 30 years in federal prison for supplying the fentanyl that caused a Palm Beach man fatal overdose. In the first federal prosecution of its kind in Palm Beach County, Christopher Sherrod Messina, 25, of Lake Worth, was found criminally liable for the death of Christian Ty Hernandez, 23, of Wellington. The fentanyl Messina sold to Hernandez was 50 to 100 times more powerful than the heroin the victim thought he was buying, prosecutors said. Now listen to this. The drug dealer's supporters yelled insults as they left the courtroom and were escorted out of the building. Later, some of them drove by, leaning out of the window of their vehicle, and hollered, "He killed his own self," at the victim's parents while they were speaking to reporters. Wow. glad that the dealer went down. Some of those people in the car will eventually have to pay up, won't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's the mindset of drug abuse, and people want to say, well, it's the addict's fault. Yeah. Well, I think that the dealers have a little bit of a, whatever you want to call that in that deal, because they're the ones selling the dope.
They basically, there was more to this story, but they basically said this fellow had absolutely zero remorse. Zero remorse for what he did.
Well,
So,
neither did the people in the car. It's his fault.
yeah.
He did it.
But he's getting to pay for it with 30 years, and when he comes out, there's a very stiff supervision program that he has to be on.
And you all better pay attention to this, because there's a lot of people out there that come to me because they were middlemen. They were copying for somebody else, and they're not really drug dealers, but being a middleman kind of is a drug dealer, and you never know what you're copying, especially when it comes to the heroin today, or even the opioid pills, because there's a lot of bootleg pills that look real, but they're cut with fentanyl, and people are losing their lives with that too. If you so happen to go do a favor for somebody and get them some dope and that kills them, you in trouble. So you all better really do some thinking right now. They're getting real harsh on drug dealing in this country.
They are.
Especially here in Santa Clarita, we don't play.
And look at what I just read. I mean, we're in a situation now where the numbers are going through the roof, and they've gone through the roof so much that now, after our life expectancy has been lowered because of this drug problem.
What's it like when you have to deal with somebody that just lost their kid?
It's devastating. They come in and they're just devastated about it, and they always feel that there was something they could have done, try to stop it, or their guilt. They have a lot of guilt. It's very difficult.
Well, let me reintroduce our guests, Cary.
Yeah, before that, Dan, I know, I'm right there, and I just want to say it, Dan. Everybody says the same thing. If I would have done different, better, or more.
The coulda, shoulda, woulda
Yes.
type stuff of the anguish people feel that they can't even put really words to, that the words aren't even suffice, I think, for the anguish I feel, especially when losing a child, especially in this way.
Yeah.
And the regrets they feel, and how much was their fault, and the impact even it has on the whole family, on marriages, on other relationships in the family. Just the domino effect is very significant.
Yes.
And it's always different, better, or more. I could have, I would have, I should have.
Yeah.
Maybe you couldn't have done nothing different.
Right.
Maybe it just was going to happen. So maybe you ought to stop blaming yourself. And a dear friend of mine, I lost one of her children, said to me one time, life's for the living, and I got to move on. And really, life's for the living, and guilt keeps you helpless, hopeless, and stuck.
It does. It's something they have to work through, though.
Yeah, of course.
And when they come to Grief Share, we accept them the way they are and allow them to work through those things. It's not something you can say, well, you can't feel that way. You can't tell them that. They have to work through that.
They have to go through their process.
That's right.
Everybody grieves differently.
That's right. And there's no right or wrong way to grieve.
Right.
It's their way.
Yes, exactly. Mike, you want to introduce our people?
We're just about to take a break here, but I thought we'd reintroduce, because we're going to switch gears here just a little bit. But we're talking today with Dan Broyles, who's a care pastor at Grace Baptist Church. Welcome, Dan. You've been here many times.
It's great being here.
Always great to have you here. And Colleen Sando, who is leader of the grief group at Grace Baptist. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking, Cary, grief never takes a holiday.
It doesn't.
Wow.
No.
That's
And
a
the holidays are here,
Yes.
which makes it even tougher for a lot of our neighbors here in Santa Clarita.
That's
To our listener who's sitting there saying, I've lost a loved one recently, or even years and years ago, you want to stay tuned, because Colleen and Dan are going to give you some great information about how to get through the holidays and to be able to deal with it.
Yes.
And you can even call in, by the way.
Yeah, and that's 661-298-5487, 661-298-5487. I know we have to go on break. Are we ready for a break, Justin, or do you want us to? Yeah? Okay, let's go ahead and take break. When we come back, we'll pick it up right where we left off. This is Families in Action on your local hometown station, AM 1220.